Hey people, it's Niles talking. Now I've came across this article and it seemed very interesting, and it basically says Neanderthal ancestry detected in Africans for the first time. Now I know from the jump that this is going to get some people reacting and maybe ranting at me for presenting this because it contradicts a lot of what we already know, but I'm going to try and leave as many articles as possible so if people can just look at the information themselves and make their own decision. I'm going to read off the article. When the first Neanderthal genome was sequenced using DNA collected from ancient bones, it was accompanied by the discovery that modern humans in Asia, Europe, and America inherited approximately 2% of their DNA from Neanderthals, proving humans and Neanderthals had interbred after humans left Africa. Since that study, new methods have continued to catalogue Neanderthal ancestry in non-African populations, seeking to better understand human history and the effects of Neanderthal DNA on human health and disease. A comparable catalogue of Neanderthal ancestry in African populations, however, has remained an acknowledged blind spot for the field due to technical constraints and the assumption that Neanderthals and ancestral African populations were geographically isolated from each other. In a paper published today in the journal Cell, a team of Princeton researchers detailed a new computational method for detecting Neanderthal ancestry in the human genome. Their method, called IBD mix, enabled them for the first time to search for the Neanderthal ancestry in African populations as well as non-African ones. The project was led by Joshua Aki, a professor in Princeton's Louis Siegler Institute for Integrative Genomics. This is the first time we can detect the actual sign of Neanderthal ancestry in Africans, said for Lu Chen, a postdoctoral research associate in LSI, and it surprisingly showed a higher level than we previously thought. The method the Princeton researchers developed, IBD mix, draws its name from the genetic principle identity by descent, in which a section of DNA in two individuals is identical because individuals once shared a common ancestor. The length of the IBD segment depends on how long ago these individuals shared a common ancestor. For example, siblings share long IBD segments because their shared ancestor or parent is only one generation removed. Alternatively, fourth cousins share shorter IBD segments because their shared ancestor, a third great-grandparent, is several generations removed. The Princeton team leveraged the principle of IBD to identify Neanderthal DNA in the human genome by distinguishing sequences that look similar to Neanderthals because we once shared a common ancestor in the very distant past, 500,000 years ago, from those that look similar because we interbred in the more recent present, 50,000 years ago. Previous methods relied on reference populations to aid the distinction of shared ancestry from recent interbreeding. Usually African populations believed to carry little or no Neanderthal DNA. However, this reliance could bias estimates of Neanderthal ancestry depending upon which reference population was used. The Princeton researchers termed IBD mix a reference-free method because it does not use an African reference population. Instead, IBD mix uses characteristics of the Neanderthal sequence itself, like the frequency of mutations on the length of the IBD segments, to distinguish shared ancestry from recent interbreeding. The researchers were therefore able to identify Neanderthal ancestry in Africans for the first time and make new estimates of Neanderthal ancestry in non-Africans, which showed Europeans and Asians to have more equal levels than previously described. Possible methodical error. Kelly Harris, a population geneticist at the University of Washington who was not involved in the study, noted that new estimates of Neanderthal ancestry using IBD mix highlight the technical problems in methods reliant on reference panels. We might have to go back and visit a bunch of results from published literature and evaluate whether the same technical issue has been throwing off our understanding of gene flow in other species, she said. A two-way flow. In addition to identifying Neanderthal ancestry in African populations, researchers described two revelations about the origin of Neanderthal sequences. First, they determined that Neanderthal ancestry in Africans was not due to an independent interbreeding event between Neanderthals and African populations. Based on features of the data, the research team concluded that migrations of ancient Europeans back into Africa introduced Neanderthal ancestry into African populations. Second, by comparing data from simulation of human history to data from real people, the researchers determined that some of the detected Neanderthal ancestry in Africans was actually due to human DNA introduced into the Neanderthal genome. The authors emphasized that this human to Neanderthal gene flow involved an early dispersing group of humans out of Africa, occurring at least 100,000 years ago before the out-of-Africa migration responsible for modern human colonization of Europe and Asia, and before the interbreeding event that introduced Neanderthal DNA into modern humans. The finding reaffirmed that hybridization between humans and closely related species was a recurrent part of our evolutionary history. While the Princeton researchers acknowledged the limited number of African populations they were able to analyze, they hope their new method and their finding will encourage more study of Neanderthal ancestry across Africa and other populations. Regarding the overall significance of the research, Chen said this demonstrates the remnants of Neanderthal genome survives in every modern human population studied to date. Well, anyway, this is from ancientorigins.net. Like I said, I'm going to leave quite a few of these articles for people to browse through. Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. If you want to support this channel, leave my GoFundMe there. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'll leave that there as well. Peace.